on the statue in Latin, e pluribus unum, which means out of many one becomes. And it's on their money, it's on their passports, it's on all the seals and three branches of government. As my I always say, one for all and all for one. My daughter says, together we stand united, and yet if we divided, we fall. In Shona, we say, Nika inovako nevena vaya. And it's not just a saying, it really means that we, the people of Zimbabwe, must build our country. I also believe it means that people cannot be separated from their country. So, yes, I think that, the bus is definitely not left. We need to get on the bus and build our country together.
Thank you so much, Ken. Engineer, what are the opportunities that are available? Tell us. I think everybody's waiting to hear the opportunities that are there.
Hello? Okay. Thank you. There are many opportunities, like she said. Because when you are building infrastructure and with the modernity aspect that is there are many aspects that come into play in terms of what is the summation collective effort that needs to be put in. We are talking of bulk infrastructure. We are talking cost of construction. That is, in the past, ZETDC was saying we cannot bring in wind technology into in Zimbabwe that can accommodate wind power. So wind power is very possible now. There will be very little development. Power is cheaper. You'll be looking at about 3 cents per kilowatt hour. When you're talking about that. So we need to be considering these things, instances of which we can all enter easily. This is what specializing in. If that money remains in China, 10% of that, half of that goes to register 6-7 companies. And those 6-7 companies will each be doing work that you and I should be doing in that work. But it's legalized, which is also another aspect in terms of opportunity. The way administrative and execution problems that we also face actually create new opportunities, but it also hampers the progress of opportunity processes. We got ZIDA that we have now. ZIDA is modeled out of Rwanda, not happening. I remember one of the aspects is that certain opportunities, we lose them because of the time factor. There was a letter written by ZIDA to local government, which was supposed to have come back within a week. It took 1 year to come back. 1 full year to come back. But it's a one-stop shop. So apart from legislative, there's administrative and execution modalities that we also need to look at. They also kill off opportunities. The other opportunities that we have is that we have a lot of land. And there are many master plans that we have for the never developed. There are certain changes that should, at the end of the day, there are many gaps even in the master plan themselves. So if you take a master plan, there are many opportunities in that master plan for you to be able to develop certain stuff in a modern way. And then the other aspect is what I started talking about, rural. Rural. We need to create as a nation a policy or a legislation for rural development. And development in the past, in the colonial times, was according to what is found in that area. Kadoma was built because there is gold in Kadoma. You also have Alaska and other places that were built because of certain minerals that were there. Why can't we follow that through today in creating new centers of development around that? I want to give you an example. In Congo Brazzaville, we were given some land to do irrigation in an area called Cotonou. And that irrigation, we found out that along the Atlantic Ocean, there's 17 kilometers of beachfront that was also allocated with the land. We then proposed that there could be a smart city from the ocean into the area where the first leg begins. Need a port, because there's water there, And we can actually, a smart city being built, and you're also producing food and other aspects. So opportunities are galore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tendai, what are we expecting from the government?
Legislation and instruments. Instruments don't have to be put in place all in one go. I think they could be put in place on a need basis as we move forward. I think we are the people that are on the ground at the moment, and we're able to say these are the things that need to be in place, and a framework that allows for responses to the turnaround data, which is supposed to be a one-stop shop. And the responses that come from that facilitators do take longer, sometimes lose confidence. And when I say investors, I talk about investors on a different level, on two different levels. For me, as somebody who's working on a development, I have an investor from the point of view of someone who's trying to bring money in to facilitate and enable and find interested in investing in what we are actually building in terms of potential residents or those that want to actually buy into Zim Cyber City, for instance. So if we could get actually said that if not me, the Zim Cyber City project, but a year and a bit down the road, things that I think should have happened within we would like to be compliant. We cannot move forward sometimes before the compliance issues have been handled. So government could assist us by ensuring that it do not always to come up with have to wait structure that allow kind of infrastructure cannot be placed in real estate. I don't understand why that kind of both from a business point of view and also from a real estate, which is the real reason why we're here.
And fully open.
My question is also with deep pockets. Now, if I'm coming used for accommodation, are we looking at building up those freight container cities which can accommodate those with rather shallow pockets?
We'll allow 3 questions and then we'll...
Thank you, Engineer Mchechetere, for your more than you have got arms.
Good morning. I think my question, archaic laws from new laws that will protect proper winners, because land is available now, and some people, the future of Zimbabwe for our children and our grandchildren, if all the land is bought up by foreigners, what is going to happen to the locals? Most people are buying properties through mortgages from financial institutions, but the bulk of Zimbabweans cannot access those facilities because they don't have the collateral, they don't have the deposits. So what is government doing intentionally?
Now ask that we hold that question in abeyance. At the moment, we don't have the officials to respond to that, but we will pass it on to them and see. And then I'm going to allow, okay, we'll have that one come through.
Thank you very much. We'll be launching a very exciting product called Ramangwana, and this speaks to modernization of, look out for that product. I would also like to, we should not leave out the issue of energy efficiency, because they do come with additional loading onto the grid. So I would also comes into question. I know I just want to say what point, if you could then start.
I want to take up the last question.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for the question. Alleviate the burden on the city of Harare on creating our own IPP. We give them prepaid meters, and as well as from the reliance completely on the city. And I think there's definitely an...
Ken, whilst you're there, the underground source of waters, what are we doing about that? Because I think it has really gone down.
It has gone down. My own residence in Harare is in last week I drilled another borehole that went down 100 of Harare's inability to short term. The good thing with water, though, is that it doesn't disappear. The earth has a way of recycling water and it comes back to us. So I think it will eventually come back. We just need to deal with the main elephant in the room, which is how does the city get the water that is untreated in the dams to the residents? And I have my own solution for that, but we don't have time to go into it today.
If we do have time, I'll allow you to come to that. Tendai, if you could respond to the first question. Thanks.
Okay, the first question, if I'm address the issue of the cost of smart cities. Let me put it up to you that we as Zim Cyber City are a 50-hectare development in a smart which is coming in as a smart city. So from that point of view, what I do know from a town planning point of view, and having looked at the actual plan that has been laid out for the new Mount Hamden city, I do know that they are affordable development, and as such, the investor is free to determine which target market he is aiming for and developing for. Affordable housing. As some of you may or may not know, we have a housing deficit of more than 2 million in Harare alone. So the need to cater for some of that deficit within the new Mount Hamden cost efficient. So I hope that answers your question. But just to add on to the issue, the question that you asked in terms of the building of renewable energies, you see smart cities are self-sustaining on a variety of levels, from the issue of using technology to improve the lives of the inhabitants of those cities. So that cuts across all sorts of things, from waste management, reticulation of water, the utilities that are actually being used. We must be able to measure what utilities are being used and whether we're using technology to the best advantage of the inhabitants of the city, and that people are familiar with. A build, operate, and transfer basis. So the money is actually there. That's why right at the beginning we're going to fund them. The funding is actually there. There are companies internationally that are interested in bringing in waste management systems. So for instance, where we would normally say the minimum subdivision where you cannot plug into a city sewer line is a subdivision of 2,000 square meters. Now we have systems that can recycle, can process your waste, recycle equivalent of a drum in terms of the space that they actually occupy. And they will recycle 95% of the water that you use for other uses other than human consumption, right? Instead of the septic tanks with the soak away that you will be required. What am I saying? I go back and put in a drum so that I can densify the minimum of 500, but put systems that cycle it and reuse it for your gardening, for everything else. But those things are available, and the funding is available. What I call revenue to cover their expense.
And government departments needed, I think did you pick the question?
Day. And when we were in his office,